What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Joined by my two boys, AP and Mangone. And I'm a little disappointed. I asked in chat before the show, guess a third person who's on the show. Alex said K Phallic, Uptown JT, Alec Big T, Apone Big T. We didn't have any Mangone guesses, so a little disappointed, but joined by Mangone again, third time this weekend. You've seen him plenty of times, though, so it's time to bring in AP. AP, you haven't been on a show since actually the golf show, I believe. I don't know if you talked about the Chiefs or if you even were on the golf show. Actually, it was Snyder, Tambo, and was it you?
Did that?
Yeah.
I was on the golf show.
Yeah.
So Uncle T, throat still hurting him. Come on, Uncle T. Uncle T. Come on, man. The guys want the Tuesday winners. Where were you at, bro?
Hurtful Uncle T. But I missed the
stuff going on.
I missed the beginning of the show, so I don't know if you were able to talk about your Chiefs. And obviously, big Chiefs fan. You got to talk about it when it goes both ways, as you know. So I want to hear your take on it. I heard you were a good sport. And talk about the slate.
Yeah, what can you say? Like it was a tale of two halves. Like I thought it was going to be a blowout, and then that last play right at the end, right before halftime, I think that changed everything, obviously. And who knows what was said at halftime, but Mahomes looked like a completely different person, and the Bengals outplayed them, took advantage of every opportunity, and the better team won. And when you look at the entire game there, and yeah, shout out to the Bengals. I don't know. I mean, my thing with Kansas City sucked for so long. I remember like being happy with like the 3-4 win seasons, and they were just a disaster. They made some good picks, and they got their 4 AFC championship games in a row. Like, I don't know. I love when new teams come up, and I think it's good for the NFL. I think it's tougher when just one team only dominates, the Patriots. I think it's good to have a bad boy team like that to go after, but it's good to see Cincinnati, rise up, and I hope they get it done. I mean, I don't know if they can. Like, I think money-wise, if I had a bet, I do think the Rams get there, and I think that's kind of the consensus of the group here outside of maybe Big T and Captain. But I know just from listening to shows, I know Mangone, you've mentioned the Rams and everything. So we'll see, though. Maybe Burrow and the boys can get it done. Either way, it's going to be a fun Super Bowl. And, yeah, the Chiefs are fine. They'll be there. They'll be right in the mix next year. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It was definitely a really good football game. I mean, the whole playoffs outside the first weekend have pretty much been really good football every single game. So had to bring it up, had to ask, but that's enough of that. Super Bowl coming up 2 weeks. Mangone, I'll go to you. Like I said yesterday, I didn't have any questions for you yesterday. I don't know what to ask you today. Talk about it. 9-game slate we got? Jokic news, the biggest on the slate. Sounds like you and AP do have a lean on that. So just talk about a slate overview, talk about Jokic. And if there's anything that happened in life between last show and this show, you can talk about that too.
Yeah, I'll address a couple of things AP said. So Uncle T, he is on the IR, but apparently he's giving it a go tonight on the PGA Bet Show. So if you can go to the Run For Your Bets channel, like that, subscribe, and come hang out with me, Uncle T, Snyder, and JJ. They're gonna make fun of me, I'm sure. We already have some good chatter going on in our golf chat. These guys are calling golf a track, and I'm saying, what are we touting, NASCAR tonight? And now Snyder's giving me lessons that people call it a golf track. I mean, we're gonna have some fun, I can tell, in this chat on the show. We're gonna be getting on each other. It'll be a fun time. So come hang out with us on the Run Pure Bets YouTube channel at 8:00. We'll get those NBA lineups buttoned up by then, and then it'll be a good time. And AP, the Chiefs, man, as a Packers fan, and Title can attest, we thought Rodgers would be back and winning one. And it gets harder when these quarterbacks are taking so much money on their team. It does get difficult. That's the one luxury the Bengals have in the next couple of years too, is paying Joe Burrow for cheap. So I do think Mahomes will get there more times. I don't think I'd be betting against that, but it definitely gets harder than you think with that salary cap, AP, for sure.
AP, any response to that, or is just we'll be back? I know that.
Yeah, he'll be back, but I agree. I mean, there's a lot that could be said, but yeah, I think they'll be back at least. If they keep kind of some of the core intact, but going out 2, 3, 4 years, I do think it'll be much tougher. But no, let's get to the ball. There's a lot of there. It looks like a nice slate tonight, so I feel good about this one.
Yeah, before we get into basketball talk, just want to shout out a couple people. Members never win. First, I see in the YouTube chat I want to touch on Anchor. He's been in here a lot. Turned $600 into $8K last night on both sites. Still can't believe it. $608,000. Congrats to you, Anchor. Good stuff. You're in here pretty much every single day. So that is awesome to see. We had Club Bands won the FanDuel seat. Sweet Boy is his name that I know him by. He's in Discord a lot. He's had a lot of success. He won the NBA FanDuel live final, or not the live final, the qualifier to get to the live final yesterday on FanDuel. So congrats to you. That is awesome stuff. And then Yuri Thomas, YT, 35,000 in NBA 2 nights ago, I believe that was. And there was a lot of screenshots yesterday too. It's been a good past 2 nights. There's been big slates, a lot of injury news, Warriors news yesterday, then Drummond and certain clear plays on Monday. And I think we have a couple clear plays today. We have injury news we're waiting on. So it is a good slate. Like AP was saying, we're going to dive right into it. First game of the night. We have 9 games on this slate, injury news throughout. And this slate's broken up, not like yesterday, not like Monday. We have pretty much like a normal slate, 3 late games that lock at 10 p.m. Eastern, or 10 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 Eastern. So 3 late games where we have news in them that you can kind of build like a mini slate, because I don't assume we're going to get the news for those games, the Jokic and stuff, until most games lock is kind of how I'm planning it. So 6 early games, technically 3 late games in the late night hammer. Just want to lay out how the slate is, because that is important with NBA and how the news breaks, of course. First game, Washington Wizards, Philadelphia 76ers, 211 total. Philadelphia is favored by 10.5. Go to the injury report on the Philly side. Ben Simmons, Korkmaz, Shake Milton, all 3 of them are out. We go to the Washington side. Bradley Beal still out. Thomas Bryant out. Thomas Bryant rolled his ankle. We were talking yesterday how Gafford's out of the he's out of the rotation because they just want to split 2 big men in the front court, Montrez and Thomas Bryant. Well, he rolled his ankle and Gafford played a little bit. And now it's expected to be a Montrez and Gafford split in the front courts. I think they're interesting. Anytime Bradley Beal's out, Kyle Kuzma is interesting. Spencer Dinwiddie. I'll go to you, AP. Talk about this game. Are you going to lock yourself into some pieces right away? Do you think it's a fade? What do you see in this game?
Yeah, you surprised me there with the Ben Simmons. I haven't heard that name in a long time. Ben Simmons is out, everyone. The slate has changed. We got to redo everything. No, I always laugh when I see him kind of pop up there on the basketball monster chart. So
it was already, my voice was already speaking. My mouth was moving and it was too late not to. So I just kept going with it.
Yeah. So this, in my opinion, with Spencer Dinwiddie busting yesterday, really like interesting stat line, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, and I think he had 7 points. His shot was not falling against your Bucks, but I've been playing guards against this Philly team, just Tyrese Maxey, Seth Curry, guys that we can definitely attack in the backcourt. I think it's a nice little flop lag spot, as our boy Snyder often says. Dinwiddie as a bust yesterday hurt a lot of feelings, mine included. I'm going to play him here. I think he's a good play. I'm hoping ownership is a little lower since he busted. The other guy I have interest in is Kyle Kuzma. This guy is just like, putting the team on his back. It's crazy, guys. I mean, this whole trade with Westbrook, they traded Caldwell Pope, Kyle Kuzma, and who's the other guy in exchange for Westbrook and like a couple 3rd-round picks or something like that.
Montrezl Harrell was in the deal.
Yeah.
They didn't bring back Caruso, which they could have brought him back, but I think there were some money issues with it. But yeah,
it's like, I don't get it at all. Like we could talk about that.
Should have been Buddy. We were talking about this during the baseball show before they're making the moves. Buddy Hield, the shooter, would have been a lot better on that team than Westbrook.
If Kuzma did he want too much money, or he looks phenomenal right now?
I feel like he just never was able, because Brandon Ingram was there for a little. I feel like he was just always could never live up to the hype in LA, because the talent was always. I agree with you. I feel like he smashed every single game that Bradley Beal's out this year. He's a hooper. So I agree with you.
Yeah, so I like him today. I think we can go right back to those 2 guys. And then Joel Embiid. Him and Jokic are going to be the decisions tonight if you're spinning up at center. And Embiid's been smashing. And he has everyone talking, about him for MVP, rightfully so. And it's like him versus Jokic. And I feel like he seems a little extra motivated now. And I love bigs against this Wizards team. He's going to absolutely attack Gafford and Montrez. He's going to get whatever he wants. I think it's going to be a very big night from Embiid if the Wizards keep it close. And what do they need to do? Have Kyle Kuzma and Spencer Dinwiddie go off to keep it close. So that is the stack I like in this game. I don't think I'm going to go back to Maxey. He's coming off a phenomenal game, like maybe in MME formats, but he is priced up. So, and I want Dinwiddie, and there's other pieces on the slate that I like. So it's Embiid, Dinwiddie, and Kuzma for me.
Yep, I like it for sure, man. I'll go to you. Talk about the front court options a little bit. Daniel Gafford, Montrez had 25 yesterday, DK points. We mentioned him on the show a little bit because they only want to play two centers. Now that Bryant's out with his ankle, these two are going to be the guys in the front court, but they both are center eligible and just center eligible. So how are you approaching the front court situation for the Wizards? Talk about Embiid as a spend up, anything you like in this game.
Yeah, my current lean is Gafford over Harrell. And I think this is one thing I'm pretty much arm in arm with BigT about, but like a 3.1K guy and a 4.4K guy, there's just a huge difference between that. Like, yeah, they're cheap, but man, like the 3.1K guy, like they can do nothing sometimes. You can really get there. Obviously, it's relative to the slate, but that 3.1K price tag versus the 4K range is such a big deal in my opinion. So I definitely think that Daniel Gafford at 3.1K, you look at 2v2s and 3v3s, maybe it's worth getting different to go up to a more
you think he'll start option. You think he'll start too, right? Because Montrez never starts. Yeah. So I'm kind of expecting Gafford starting.
Well, you expect him to start because I always like to say it's like we only play with one basketball, and it's like, well, you need Dinwiddie and you need Kuzma to be able to get their share, and then off the bench, Harrell, it's just like a role that he fits into really well.
Yeah, he's done his whole career, yeah.
Yeah, and like, Harrell, he's not like, 7 feet tall. Like, Embiid can score on anyone, but it'll be like shooting over a chair. So it would definitely be, he's a little short for sure for being a center. He makes more sense off the bench. So I think that Harrell is definitely a guy that he could be an interesting turn option that has a nice ceiling, but I lean Gafford right now over Harrell. I like Spencer Dinwiddie's role that he's in. I know he struggled a little bit last night, but I still think he can get the job done here at that 5.8K price tag, someone that I will still be looking at and still be considering on this slate. I think Kuzma, again, another guy that you can go to, that 7.5 range is not bad, but Philadelphia, man, it's like, what do you want to do with Embiid in that price tag? That's the key, because his usage has been great. You got Seth Curry, who's back, who I feel like it cuts into some stuff with some of the ball handling. Like, I don't know who it's going to cut into. It could cut into Harris. It could cut into Maxey. It could cut into Embiid. So I would be careful with how many Sixers you roster. I'm okay with doing a run back, but I'd only probably want one run back. Like Maxey at 7.5, it's definitely priced in. There's other guards I would prefer instead. Tobias Harris at 8.3, I think there's just better spend up options. And then like, I'd maybe buy low on that like Seth Curry price tag of 5.3 over the Maxey if I had to pick. And then I wouldn't hate going to an Embiid, but I think there's just other spend ups that I'm going to go to instead on this slate. We already talked about, liking already Gafford or Harrell. Well, if I plug in Gafford and then I plug in Embiid, I just have no more options for centers. Like, it's all gone. So I think that's like a key on this slate. So I just think Embiid's going to be a little tougher for me to get to here on this slate as a spend up, but I won't talk you out of it. He's obviously a really good play.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The center position, it's a trend, it's a theme. Center position, you only can play two max if you play one of the utility. And we just mentioned 3 good center plays, Montrez, Gafford, and Embiid in the first game alone. So you got to get the center position right for sure. 2 centers always makes sense with the double-double bonus, and a lot of good centers in the league this year. So let's get into the next game. But first, 358 watching, 93 likes. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for us, please. Don't like to keep saying it, but we appreciate it. We got Gary in chat. We got Glock in chat. Allison, Dez, Colin, Anchor. What's going on, guys? Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Any questions in chat you can drop. If we have time, we'll answer some. Appreciate you guys making the show fun. But let's get into the next game. The second game that locks at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then it's 7:30 after this. Orlando Magic, Indiana Pacers, 225.5 total. Indiana is favored by 3.5. No injury news on the Magic side. As far as the Pacers, definitely not the case. Sabonis, Turner, Brogdon, Goga, all are out. And then we got Brissett is questionable, who did miss last game they played. He was also questionable that game. Pretty big news on a slate like this because they just don't have that many bodies, especially in the front court. We saw Isaiah Jackson go absolutely nuclear last game, 5.4K on DraftKings, I believe 6K on FanDuel. So the price came up, but I'd argue it didn't come up enough. He's also power forward eligible on DraftKings, so you can play him there instead of center, which is very nice too. The guy is really good at bat, or the guy was really good from what I saw. Thought he was athletic. He played well. So I think going right back to him makes sense. Man, I'll go to you. Talk about Jackson and then talk about the other pieces on the Pacers, since I think they're interesting without a lot of bodies. And then what are you doing on the Orlando side? Is it a cross off or are you one-offing someone?
Yeah, second night of a back-to-back for Orlando, so that's worth mentioning. And I think that both these teams are not that good. Not too worried about the game blowing out or anything. Both these teams aren't great. It's a 225 total. So I think there are some shots that we can take in this game. Isaiah Jackson is one of them, but he is 5'4" now. He's not in that 3K range, or even the 4K range. I mean, it's just, that is more of a heftier tag where there are opportunities where it can bust. So I'm going to think a little bit about him. He's not this guy that I'm just going to shove all in on. I mean, he's looking like a great projected play, but he's just not a guy that I'm just going to push all in for sure on. I think he's a good option, but I kind of want to see how some other values shake out. It's a pretty big slate. There's news that we're waiting on in spots where I could see myself maybe not having as much as I think to start out the slate. But right now he looks like he's one of the stronger values on the slate. I think that a Chris Duarte, he's kind of cheap where you could definitely make an argument that he could be a pretty good play here in this spot. Karis LeVert is 8.2, which feels like an uncomfortable tag. And I'll probably go back to the well on it. It just, the usage is there. It seems like a good spot. I know he hasn't been as great, but man, if people are still not going to play him, he's going to be a little bit lower owned. I'm definitely down to go him at 8.2. So he's in the conversation for me. He's not a guy I'm pushing on and just going to have a lot of them. Maybe on one of my 3 lineups. I'm still trying to figure it out. Maybe he makes 2, but I like a lot of guards in this range that we'll talk about as we kind of go through the slate. We didn't mention my boy, Mr. Scary Terry Taylor. If Brissett is out, I guess he'd become in play at 3.5, but I don't know. It's definitely not a bad slate where I think you could take a shot at it. I know a couple people who took the shot on it. So I think at 3.5, I mean, the difference between his tag and Jackson's, it's just 5.4 and 3.5 is a huge difference.
What about him to Gafford? Let's say Brissett's out. Gafford's 3.1. Taylor has a power forward tag too. So I guess that is your argument that you could use.
Yeah. I think there was just a big difference between the 3.5 and the 5.4 where it just would not, if you told me Brissett was out, I think it's definitely in the conversation where I might get a little bit of exposure to it. But there's a little bit of a guessing game with some of these guys. I think that you could see them go more to the hot hand on the Pacers, right? You could see between Duarte, Lamb, Holiday, Craig, Jackson, Taylor, all these different guys. LeVert's probably going to close, but you could see some of these guys carry some type of risk to not get that closeout rotation, which is obviously a little concerning. On the Orlando side, we should talk about them a little bit. Wendell Carter Jr., he crushed in that revenge spot. I do think 6.2 is still a good tag, especially against this Pacers team, which isn't great on the boards right now without Sabonis and Turner. They've definitely had their struggles. So I think Carter Jr. at 6.2 is a good option. Bamba, we've seen him hit a 50 ceiling, and not many guys in the 5K range can hit that 50 ceiling. So I guess he's in playing the MME format. I'd be curious what AP has with him on his heat map. Cause I do think he's someone that you could get exposure to here that has the ceiling to win you 150 lineup tournament prize pool. And then Suggs is probably the better option over a Cole Anthony. But again, these guys are jump shooters and the other worry that I have with them being jump shooters is it's a second night of a back-to-back, and I worry about that sometimes with guys in the Magic. So we did talk about this game a lot, or at least I did, but I think there's a lot of different options that you could see on the winning lineup, but not guys I'm just shoving all in on, I should say.
No, I mean, this game, the Pacers just don't have bodies, and we saw Justin Holiday went nuclear last game. These guys just have to play and they have to shoot. You didn't even mention Torrey Craig. You mentioned Jeremy Lamb a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if any of those guys 5X, 6X, 7X their tags. So no, I totally agree with you. And I agree. I think Wendell Carter is my favorite Magic guy too, but a Cole Anthony or something like that, I think is interesting. AP, go to you. Talk about this game. One question in particular though is Karis LeVert, because he's been owned recently. He's busted for a lot of people recently. You're shaking your head. People in chat saying no Karis LeVert, blah, blah, blah. I think ownership's going to reflect the recency bias. And I mean, rightfully so, maybe. It's an interesting spot. So what are you doing with Karis LeVert? I don't think the ownership's going to be what it has been recently. So talk about him, talk about this game.
Yeah, it's man, we all know what he's capable of. And, the usage has kind of been there. The shot really hasn't, and he hasn't been as aggressive with his shot in certain spots where I thought he would be. But man, a matchup against Orlando, I got one more Karis LeVert bullet, and I mean, I might write him off after that. But it really just comes down to ownership too. Kind of as a tournament player, we know what he's capable of. He's busted multiple times in this spot. I got it. Like if I was playing him in these other spots, and now we get a 225, 226 total against the Magic. I mean, I looked at it like both teams are actually playing at a faster pace than what we're accustomed to seeing. Part of that is Cole Anthony, pushing the pace, hitting shots. And the other part of it is the Pacers are forced to play small, which, if you're playing small, you're usually getting more possessions in. So if the offensive efficiency is going to be there, I think we could see some points here. And but
the second highest total on the slate. So I mean, you don't see these two. You don't see these two, or like we're not accustomed to seeing these two with the total like this. That's a very good point.
Yeah. So for me, it's Chris Duarte. He's a guy I'm looking at too. I think he's going to be able to get his shots up in this matchup. Karis LeVert and Isaiah Jackson. I'm not like Justin Holiday, just not a guy I really play. He's coming off a good game, but it was a highly efficient game. And if you look at all of the games where he hits value or exceeds value, he's like incredibly efficient in it, in those games, like 8 for 12 from the field, 5 for 9 against the Clip. Like, I need more shots. I need more peripheral stats. He just doesn't do it for me. I hate relying on steals, blocks, and limited shooting to get it done. So Isaiah Jackson, Karis LeVert, Chris Duarte would be my preferred options. And then, Terry Taylor, if Brissett is out, I mean, Mangone, you make a good argument there. Like if he's going to get 20 to 22 minutes and produce when he's out there, I'll have some interest at that cheap price tag. So those are the guys I like. Wendell Carter, the price just seems a little too low. Highly efficient last game. I'm really interested to see where his ownership kind of lands at, because we've seen him kind of go up and down. But, man, he does feel like a strong play here. He's in my player pool. I have him tagged as a core play option, so he is someone that I'm looking at more so than Mo Bamba. I mean, Mo Bamba may be wrong, but isn't on my sheet. He's a guy I just, if he's going off for 50 plus, I'm not winning that slate, and I'm fine with that. I just, I'm not I'm not playing him because you can only play him at that center spot. Every slate that he's on has way better options at center, and I'm like, do I really want to waste a spot on him? And I typically fade him. Maybe it's wrong. I don't know, but Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter, even Jalen Suggs are guys that I'd rather play over Mo Bamba.
No, I agree. I think you brought up good points with it. Like the one thing I thought was interesting is there's just sometimes there's guys in certain ranges, 4 or 5K range. How many guys in the 4K range, like Montrezl Harrell, have a ceiling of 40 to 50 fantasy points? There aren't many always, right? So I think that's just something I wanted to call out. I was curious as you've definitely played more MME and you've been on SaberSim, and SaberSim is definitely, great. I use it too, but I don't use it for the MME stuff. So I was curious where you were at on that. So I think that Mo Bamba, I feel I'm kind of with you. I'd rather just fade him today on this slate instead and just go to other better center options.
Yeah, I won't say no, but I don't think, it will be 2%, 3% owned. So it's not if you have him and he puts up a 60 piece. In the back of my head, I'm remembering a Chris Boucher slate where, he just goes nuclear one day. Yeah, you'll have him. If you have him, you'll win. But I wouldn't be worried about Mo Bamba sinking your lineups today. As far as Duarte, he's shooting guard and small forward eligible to AP, which is always nice on DraftKings, getting that guard and forward eligibility. But let's get into the next game. 462 watching, 135 likes. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button first, please. We do appreciate it. 7:30 Eastern, Charlotte Hornets, Boston Celtics, 223.5 total. Boston is favored by 6. On the injury report for Charlotte, Gordon Hayward out. Jalen McDaniels out. As far as Boston's healthy. So some teams are starting to be at full strength. Boston's one of them, and I just don't really have interest in anyone from Boston really. Going to the Charlotte side, I don't see much I have interest on the Charlotte side either. So I'll go back to you, AP. I'm thinking this could be a cross-off game for me. 9 games, make it 8 games. What do you see in this game?
Yeah, I always say Tatum. So one thing I do with Boston is in the SaberSim rules, I limit one player from Boston unless there's injuries or unless the matchup is just phenomenal. But
tell the people how you do that quick, because there are probably some people watching that don't know.
Yeah, so you go in there and you just, one max from whatever team. You can list whatever team. I always click Boston. There's a few other that'll
Is
add
that in
there.
the advanced settings? Is that?
Yeah, just in step 2 right there.
Okay.
It's you can say, add rules or whatever. And what I'm trying to capture there is Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Like I don't want both of them in the lineup together. And today, like Tatum always has the ability to like break a slate. He just does. When he gets going, it's like, man, like he can put up a monster number, and you can play him in so many different positions. So I think he's someone that, as a tournament player, especially in a matchup against the Hornets, you always want to give kind of a fair projection, but you also want to set that setting in there. So because like when he goes off, very rarely do you see like multiple other guys go off. So Tatum or Brown is kind of, where it's at for me. And Jaylen Brown, the price tag on DraftKings is a little lower than what we're accustomed to seeing. So I do think he'll get a little bit of ownership there. So in tournaments, I don't mind fading him for Tatum on this slate. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if one of them had a big game with how fast the Hornets like to play. I am full fading the Hornets side, though. I mean, if you want to take a flyer on Kelly Oubre off the bench, no problem with that. But he is kind of in that same category as Mo Bamba for me, where you can play him in more positions. But, Kelly Oubre can always come off the bench and smash. I just would prefer to target starters on this slate just because his rotation is so wild. So pretty much a fade for me outside of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
I like it, Mango. What are you seeing in this game?
Yeah, this game is definitely a tough one for me. I think I'm pretty much out on it. I know the total is not bad, but I mean, I just don't really want to play too many Hornets unless like some news hits a certain way. One thing I don't think people realize about the Celtics, and I mean, I found it pretty crazy when I looked this up. It was probably like 3-4 days ago. So maybe something's changed slightly, but over the last 3 weeks, Celtics were number 2 in defensive rating, which like that was really surprising for me to see. I didn't expect it, but Celtics been playing a lot better defensively. So I don't love these price tags too. Like LaMelo Ball was fun at like that 8-3 range or like the 7-8 range. 9-5, like I just can't do it. I don't think it's a great spot. Some of these price tags have gone up, and it's because of the injury situations. We got to always know the right time to get on and get off of stuff. And I think this is the right time to get off of the Hornets. And then on the Boston side, like Marcus Smart's price is okay at 5.4, but there's probably better values that we can get to. And then I would say like even a Horford at power forward at 5.2 in tournaments, that is like a guy that you could go to as like a contrarian MME option, but none of these guys will probably be on my lineup. So I doubt I'll get to any of them. Maybe like a Jaylen Brown. I didn't mind what AP said about him. Like I prefer Jaylen Brown over a Jason Tatum as a contrarian spend up option at the 8.7 price tag versus the 10.6K price tag. I think that would definitely be my lean if I had to pick one guy in this game. I think Jaylen Brown is the most likely guy to make my lineups.
Makes sense. I feel like LaMelo did not work more than it's worked, even in that mid 8K price range. I could be wrong, but I feel like he busted more than he did well for me. But that game definitely is not the best of games to target. Before we get into the next game, I want a couple marketing points. One, the Keg live show that he's doing, $40 a month. He covers MMA, NASCAR, NFL, a little NBA. He live bets too. Keg goes live multiple hours every single week. Has had a lot of success. I know NASCAR is coming up. Him and Coop have absolutely dominated the NASCAR streets. He does MMA, like I said. So make sure check out the Keg live show. The bet side absolutely crushes it. And then if you're not a member at Rumpier, I don't know what you're doing. This package with SaberSim, $150 to get both right now. SaberSim tool is absolutely phenomenal. AP right now might be adding his player pool and different stuff in there. You can see core plays, a lot of really cool things that SaberSim has done with Rumpier. And it makes it very easy if you want to build Big T's player pool. You see his 6 core plays and you want to make sure you have at least 4 of them in your lineup and stuff like that. It's very easy to do. So if you're not a member, don't know what you're doing, SaberSim, Rumpier, $150 a month. Make sure you get in Discord too, because I always talk about it, but Discord is definitely my favorite part. And then hit the like button for us, 440 watching, 154 likes. It's not very hard. One click of the button. We definitely do appreciate it. But that's enough of that. Let's get into the next game. 7:30 p.m. Eastern again. The Memphis Grizzlies, the New York Knicks, 217 total. Memphis is favored by 4. On the Memphis side, Dylan Brooks out. Steven Adams questionable. on the Knicks side, the Knicks are healthy, and it's very similar to last game. I don't have too much interest in these 7:30 p.m. Eastern games. So, man, I'll go back to you because I'm just going to say another cross off. I think I like this game even worse than or even less than I like the previous game. So I'm down to 7 games personally. I'm fading this. What are you doing?
Yeah, I've been playing Ja a lot, but I know he's
10-5. Like, there's a reason now though. 10-5 with a price, man. He's up there.
Yeah, I mean, if he does make his shots, though, I mean, he did get overtime last game, which was key, but I just can't get there. I do think the Steven Adams news matters a little bit on this slate. He is questionable. At least that's what I'm seeing here, unless we got the news when, recently, but I think that Steven Adams news could matter some. You obviously would have Jaren Jackson become a better play, but man, Jaren Jackson, when he's against these like bigger teams, like dude can't keep his hands to himself. And like, I mean, that's the one where I have with him. He's 6.9K. I mean, if he gets in the foul trouble, that can really bury you losing that rotation. So that's something to look at. If you do get Steven Adams out, starting lineups would matter. I'd be curious if they did Jackson at the 5 and then they did like a Anderson at the 4. I doubt they do that because they probably want to go a little bit bigger and they probably throw Brandon Clark in there. Brandon Clark is power forward eligible at 4.2K. Man, Brandon Clark would definitely be a play that I think I would want to get on for sure here in this spot and consider because they're going to need his size throughout the game. So I definitely think that Brandon Clark is going to be a guy that I consider in this game. Probably need the Steven Adams news to fall my way though. Desmond Bane's price, it was 6-1. Now it's 7-1. And like, that just feels a little too pricey for me. I know he's guard and forward eligible, but I don't need to go there. And then, man, I'm just like full fade in the Knicks here. There's no real reason to go to these guys. I don't think in this spot, like, man, Kemba's getting cheap, but like, I'm going to wait for the time when I know Kemba's unleashed again and he's better. Like, this is just, I'm out on this, man. No chance I'm going to play any Knicks, and feels like a good idea to just backload a little bit more title.
Yeah, I'm with you. This game's gross. I don't want to play Knicks. I will say the one, I'm looking at the price quick. On Monday, Julius Randle was $29 on Yahoo. Today's $31 on Yahoo. So if you play on Yahoo, man, it's still sometimes rough rostering Julius Randle, especially now, but that price, they're begging you to play him. So the only Nick I might have in my lineup is Randle on FanDuel. But AP, go to you. You think it's a kind of a fade and stay away like we do, or is there some pieces you like in this game?
Yeah, I have every piece of this game as a fade. Yeah, I mean, watch out for the Steven Adams news. I'm a big, always a fan of Brandon Clark, 4.2. He's fine. Still though, I'm like, I hate targeting the Knicks. It's just a troll. Like I can't even stand watching them right now. Like, their brand of basketball is really boring in my opinion. Like, they have no identity. Julius Randle doesn't look good. Last year, at least they were exciting, like towards the end. Like, we had these guys playing good ball. They're playing competitive in these games. It's just, man, they got a lot to figure out now. I'm going to avoid them and move off.
Yep, definitely with you. So the 7:30 p.m. Eastern games, not two of the best games on the slate. Probably the 2 worst on the slate, or close to that. So first games we don't like those games.
I mean, Tado, when I have Mangone's buddy Joe messaging me about like how I'm right with how, like, I'd rather like stick a fork in my eye than watch, the Knicks play basketball. That team just has a problem. Like, he's a massive Knicks fan. So it is what it is. We move on.
Joe will bleed and die with his teams. Like I think he went to like 2 or 3 Jets games this year. He went to a Jets preseason game. Now that's a fan.
Oh,
that is a fan.
Yeah, Jets preseason. You got to be paying me money to be going to that. I'm not paying money for that. But yeah, this Knicks team, I hope they dish Julius Randle before the trade deadline, because I like watching Julius Randle play, and I think I don't think the Knicks and him are the fit now. But
isn't that like in 8 or 9 days? The trade, like, we're going to see some like wild stuff. Like, now's the time where, I mean, maybe next week where you really got to watch out for stuff, DFS wise. So it's going to get interesting for sure.
Also, if you bet NBA futures, right? Like, a good time to get in is if one of those teams like you're interested in, that's like a deep dart, like you hear them in the rumor, like take the shot now. If you do like them already, like Memphis Grizzlies are a team that I've already bet. I got them at like 70-1. I think that they're like a young team, but like if they make like a push and make a move, like for something, they have enough pieces to get like a bigger piece. They could definitely go into the mix. There are some teams like that you can just get really good lines on and you'd be surprised. This is where some championship teams are built sometimes. I mean, big moves are made and it really helps teams out.
It's next Thursday, AP. So yeah, if this is your first year for NBA DFS or something, these shows and the Up to Lock show and stuff, even after lock, like, you'll see a random trade, maybe a Wednesday a Tuesday, stuff like that. Trades are going to stop popping up, and they change DFS slates, obviously. So yeah, next Thursday trade deadline, always an interesting time. But let's get into the next game on the slate, 8 p.m. Eastern, Cleveland Cavaliers, Houston Rockets, 219 total. Cleveland is favored by 5. Darius Garland out, Lauri Markkanen out for the Cavs. On the Houston side, they are healthy. AP, I'll go to you. The floor is yours. Talk about this game because there is some pieces that you cannot ignore for sure on the Cavs side.
Yeah, I get to talk about my favorite player in the NBA.
So I went
Osman. To you. Still have watching him for 3 years. Still have yet to see him hit a jumper. Maybe it will be tonight against the Rockets. No, it's just a running joke. There's like been no one that tilts me more, and I don't tilt very much. But like watching this guy wide open, pull up, he looks like he should be a baller. He looks like he should have a good shot. And I like when he gets going, sometimes he does, but there's other times where he just can't make anything. And it's like so tilting, but he gets a matchup against the Rockets. I'm going to have him in every lineup. Like I'm not fading them. It was point Chetty last game. It's going to be point Chetty again this game. He played 38 minutes. He was running the offense. He was creating his own shot that wasn't falling, 3 for 16 from the field. But he had 12 assists. So the floor is massive. Like this guy could put up a huge number tonight if the shot falls. And I'm going to be his biggest fan tonight because he gets to face the Rockets who don't play defense. So I have a ton of interest in him. I have a ton of interest in this front court. It's a little bit difficult to target. So I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say. But man, big smash the Rockets. And we have 3 bigs here to pick from. Jared Allen, Guy Love at that center spot, though. Kevin Love off the bench played, 33 minutes. And then we have Evan Mobley, who I think was in foul trouble. Maybe one of you can recall that from the last game. But I do think you can make an argument for all 3 of those guys. Not together, but individually, pairing there with Chetty. And as far as run backs go, I don't really feel compelled to run it back with anyone because this Cavs team with Allen, with Mobley, they're still such a good defensive team, especially going against like the Rockets who struggle with jumpers, struggle from mid-range, struggle from 3-point, from the 3-point land. And I don't think Jalen Green's going to be able to get inside to get some slam dunks in there, which if you watch that last game, I forget who he posted, but man, he had a really nice dunk, and I know he's going to be in the slam dunk contest. So it'll be fun watching him, in that. But really, it's going to be Chetty. It's going to be one of the bigs from the Cavs, and I'm not really feeling the need to force a run back, but maybe I could be talked into one.
I like it, man. I'll go to you. Rank the 3 front court guys, Love, Mobley, Allen, because all 3 of them are in play for me. I take it, Jetty I shouldn't say I take it because I don't know. What are you doing with Osman Chalk? And then talk about Brandon Goodwin a little bit too, because he has to be mentioned. He's min price. He's 3K on DraftKings, min price, 3.5 on FanDuel 2 nights ago against the Pelicans. He played 25 minutes. He had 25 DK points. Now he shot the ball really well, 8 for 11 from the field, 3 for 4 behind the arc. He doesn't really get peripheral stats, so he was very efficient to get to where he got, but I don't think you can ignore Goodwin on the slate. So talk about the Cavs. There's a lot of really interesting plays, and then are you going to run it back with anyone on Houston?
Yeah, I think my interest here is in, like, if you go the order of the big men, I think it'd be Jared Allen 1, probably Mobley 2, and then Love 3. I know it's like kind of in the order of the pricing, but
you really picked the only one that doesn't have power forward eligibility. I'm surprised. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but I think Allen could have a huge game. I mean, like, just traditional centers can just absolutely dominate inside on the Rockets. You could just see Jared Allen go for a huge game. And I also think, like, it is a little bit like contrarian too. And like the difference between the type of plays, like, I don't know, I can maybe find like another power forward to go. Evan Mobley just does feel like he's like a little pricey. Like, how often do you see Evan Mobley go for like 50 at like 7.4? Like, if I wanted to hit that ceiling, I just get some concerns there. So I like Allen. Love is definitely not bad at 7K, but again, like the minutes are always a concern with him. So that's why he can be a little dicey at times. I do like Goodwin and Osman a lot. Goodwin is 3K. And again, like, 3K guys, I always talk about like how that 3K range is ridiculous when they're 3K. They're 3K. I'm curious who starts though, because Goodwin started the second half at point guard, and then Osman obviously started the game. So I'm curious to see what happens with all of that. But I think Osman's a good play. I think Goodwin is a good play. If Rondo happens to start, then I'm in on Rondo. I'll definitely want to be playing him in this spot. So I will not be ignoring him. And then can we talk about the Kevin Porter revenge? I don't know if you guys saw the quotes on that, but Kevin Porter said he is excited about this game tonight. He said it's going to be like a movie. He can't wait to go against these guys that used to be his boys. So I think at 6.6K, I think he's going to be really under-owned. That night I had a big hit. I had some KPJ, so that was good. So maybe I'll run it back with him. I think he's a really interesting option that's like going to be contrarian. I don't know if I want to pay that 8.9K price tag on Christian Wood. I'd rather just play a Jared Allen instead. I think if I play any Rockets, like I want to keep it to like a minimum of like 1 or 2. I don't want to go too crazy on it just because Cleveland does play at a slower pace. The last game they played, it was 93-90, but that was also because I think you had Jackson Hayes and you had Valanciunas together. I do think this game will play at a little bit of a faster pace, and I think that Houston will kind of dictate the tempo a little bit, where you're seeing a 219.5 total. This isn't down to like the normal Cleveland total. So I think that'll at least help the Cleveland side a little bit and still be okay for some of these Houston guys. And I think KPJ and like probably like a Jayshawn Tate at power forward is like my second favorite option on the Rockets if I had to pick.
Yeah, I would say Jayshawn Tate too.
Real quick, that's such a good mention, Mangone. Like, didn't Kevin Porter Jr., like they gave his locker to, who was it, like Taurean Prince or something back in the day, and he went and like started throwing food at everyone and stuff and threw a big tantrum like the little baby he is. I like the revenge narrative though.
AP, the quote, the other part of the quote was in the old press conference, right? They were talking to him and they asked him, he said, I had this game circled on my calendar for December 15th and he was hurt. He couldn't play it. So he was mad. And that game was in Cleveland. So it's the first blood one. I mean, he's ready to go. This one's in Houston. He said it's a little different because it's in Houston, but he's like, I can't wait to play against my boys. And also like we talk about this Cleveland team and how good they are down low. And it's kind of like Utah where like Rudy Gobert is really good in the paint and that causes a lot more outside shots. Well, if you look at Kevin Porter, where do most of his shots come from? They come from the 3-point line. So if they're going to hang in this game, they need guys to shoot and make shots. And Kevin Porter Jr. will not be afraid to shoot tonight. I'll tell you that. He will chuck up a lot of shots and I'll definitely be in on KPJ.
Who was still on the roster when he was there? Like this roster is so different. Maybe Chetty Osman.
Osman definitely was. I remember playing this guy in the same spot 5 years ago in DFS. So definitely Osman.
He called out
Kevin Love.
He called out K-Love. He called K-Love and DG. So Darius Garland. He called out Dean. I think he called out Dylan Windler too. He mentioned. So those are some of his boys.
Hey, Alex boy. Oh man.
What was Windler doing to KPJ? But no, I mean, I like it. Like narratives. So narratives are tough because every narrative, like it's different. But when you know that a player knows it, he circles the game on his calendar, especially a guy like KPJ, where this guy is not afraid to chuck. Like he's going to chuck more for sure today. Like all that stuff and the price tag, like he grades out fine. He's going to be really low owned. So I think KPJ in a game where you're going to play Cavaliers, I think makes a lot of sense. So Mangone, definitely. That's why we love you on the show.
I think it's a great narrative. I'm serious because if you think back to the game, Jalen Green against Cade Cunningham, like they were just feeding Jalen Green. Like this team, they don't care about winning. They just care about their own selfish stuff. Like they're like literally the most childish team in the NBA now. So yeah, I love it. I'm adding Kevin Porter to my pool. I'm definitely playing that narrative tonight.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a good narrative. Dez is on board too. He was talking about it in chat a little bit too. So, yep, that was a fun game. Very important game. Cavs are going to have some ownership. Little KPJ can never hurt anybody today. Jayshawn Tate, I agree. He would be my second favorite, first favorite, in between. But I'm on board. You talked me into the KPJ narrative for sure. Brandon in chat said Brissett is out. Yep, got a couple minutes ago. Brissett is out, so maybe it might be a little Taylor season for Mangone. Jackson becomes a little better play too. The same situation kind of is a couple of days ago, but yeah, Taylor in play now. Pretty big news on a slate like this. The Pacers are definitely in play today. Let's get into the next game though. 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Oklahoma City Thunder, Dallas Mavericks, 206 total. So low total, big spread. Dallas is favored by 12. Not something you love looking for, low totals, big spreads, but some injury news. Porzingis out, Hardaway out, Sterling Brown out. Go to the OKC side, and SGA is still out. So Porzingis, SGA, two big players in this game. looking at it, I think Luka Doncic is a spend up, makes some sense. I saw someone in chat earlier talking about Marquise Chris and how they'd rather Chris over Gafford. I think that's interesting, man. I'll go to you. Would you go Chris or would you go Gafford? Chris is 3K. Is he viable? Talk about Luka as a spend up. Talk about Giddey on the other side. I think he's interesting. What do you got in this game?
Well, Chris is power forward eligible too. And I know he shot well the other day, right? He shoots 6 for 10, but the usage is just so good for him right now. And he only played like 19 minutes in that game. And like, I think that Marquise Chris, man, he is a really good play at 3K. I played him the other day. It worked out. I'm probably going to go back to the well. He was only like 5%. I'm not expecting people to jump back on him, but at 3K, I like this spot for Marquise Chris. Again, like he's 3K, like he doesn't have to do that much. And the thing that's nice is he's not like a 3K dude that stands in the corner like Isaac Okoro, a title, right? Like when he's on the court, he actually touches the ball and does stuff. And what if he plays himself into some minutes? What if he happens to hit the ceiling of the 24? Well, like I just hit the nuts like it. So I think Marquise Chris, really good tournament play that you want to get exposure to. And it's nice that he gets that power forward eligibility. I like Luka a lot too.
So your answer, not to interrupt, your answer is Chris over Gafford because of power forward eligibility.
Yeah, probably. Actually, as crazy as that sounds, it might be Chris over Gafford because of the positions. I think that could actually make some sense. It could be both too, obviously, and we have some pretty good values on this slate. I like Luka though a lot in this spot. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Luka can easily go off in 3 quarters if it is a blowout. And the other day when it was a blowout, Luka came back in the game, and I believe he then got his triple double because of that. So Luka is definitely someone that's like one of the better studs for me on this slate that I think I'm going to look to spend up on. Just the key is he's guard eligible, so it depends how kind of the lineups fill out. And then on the flip side of the Thunder, like, man, so Lou Dort will probably be in there a lot because when Luka's on the court, they're going to need Lou Dort out there guarding him. I wouldn't be shocked if you saw like 35 to 40 minutes for Dort tonight. Like I could see him getting up there if the game's competitive, just because they might want to have him on a Luka more. And then because Dort might be spending so much time on defense against Luka, maybe on the flip side, you get Giddey is just running the offense a little bit more, where that could be big for him. So I like the idea of getting exposure to both of these guys, Dort and Giddey. Maybe I keep them separate from each other on the teams that I build. But I think both these guys are really good plays. And I think people are going to say that Giddey is an uncomfortable tag at 7.9. And sure, it feels uncomfortable, but all the numbers I look at, I think Giddey is still a really good play and someone that you should be considering on this slate. And I think those are the 4 guys I'm mainly looking at. Like, I don't mind a Trey Man, but not someone I feel like I'm going to go to. I think there's other 3K guys I'd rather play instead of going to like a 4.2K guy.
Yep, definitely makes sense. Good points. Before I get to AP on the game, Travis said any love for John Madison Square Garden, talking about the narrative. We could see that, or we talked about that game. The price is up there. Ja can go off anywhere. So yeah, 10-5, he's going to be low owned. I think you can play him, but it's not our favorite price. AP, I'll go to you. It's a pretty good game, so the floor is yours. Talk about it.
Yeah, so Luka, ton of interest in him. He's going to be able to get whatever he wants in this matchup. And then, yeah, Marquise Chris. I was listening to, we had a member post Draymond's podcast or YouTube show that he was on recently in chat. Listen to that. It was a really good listen. But what's crazy, just a nugget out of that, he brought this Chris up and just like praised him, like gave the kid so much praise. Which is interesting because he used to play for the Warriors. Just said he the kid works hard, has a great mindset for the game, and thinks he's going to excel wherever he's at. So maybe, I don't know if that's any relevance to this slate at all or his opportunity with the Mavericks, but you have to be encouraged by the 16 and almost 19 minutes. And then, adding in, if this game blows out, you have to figure that he's going to get those final 2 to 3 minutes there in the fourth. So I have a ton of interest in him in tournaments. Flat 3K, can play him at the power forward, center, utility spot. I'm definitely down with that. It's Luka, Chris. I'm not messing with like Dwight Powell or like Klebe. I'm not messing with him. Center only, like not messing around with that. And then I'm off of the Thunder. This rotation is just a mess, man. 11 guys played. Last game, like, yeah, you could play Giddey. I like that mention by Mangone, but I just think there's going to be better plays in that range. And I just don't want to tilt OKC here against a good defensive team in the Mavericks.
Yeah, and there's no reason to go overboard because, as I mentioned in the pre-show, this game's at 8:30. After that, we have an hour and a half window until the next 2 games lock where we have Jokic news and other stuff. So we're going to probably have some unknown news going into that game when it can lock. So yeah, you don't need to, I mean, if Jokic is out, that changes the whole slate. So you don't need to lock yourself into too many pieces in a game like that. But we're going to get into that. 500 watch and 195 likes. I'll say the same thing as yesterday, 250 likes for the plays of the day. Not very hard. We have 3 games left, so you guys got some time to do it. I know you guys are going to get there for us. It's not very difficult. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. We appreciate it for sure. Next game, 10 p.m. Eastern, the Brooklyn Nets, the Sacramento Kings. Big boy total, 232 total. Brooklyn favored by 4.5. On the injury report, KD out, Aldridge out, Joe Harris out, Paul Millsap out. Go to the Sacramento side. Bagley, Terrence Davis out. De'Aaron Fox is still questionable. So another big piece of news that locks at 10 p.m. Eastern on the slate. Fox has been questionable a good amount recently, and he's been ruled out for those games. Davion Mitchell gets a big bump. Tyrese Halliburton gets a bump. I'll go to you, man. Go and talk about the Sacramento Kings side, what you're going to do with the roster construction. Are you going to make sure you have a certain amount of spots open for these last 3 games? What are you doing for this game?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some merit to going to some of these later games and loading up on that. I think it depends how some of the news shakes out, and maybe I'll have my lineups spread out enough where every team has enough ways to mix and match guys, so I'm able to get some type of exposure. I think these late games are good. No Aldridge, obviously, and then no Millsap. It adds up that you get the opportunity to roster a Claxton, a Blake Griffin, a James Johnson. It always depends who starts though. That's one of the concerns. So kind of have to wait and see that news. And those are not guys I'm going out of my way to roster. I think that a James Harden at the top is a really interesting contrarian option. A Kyrie Irving. I mean, we get the Sacramento Kings. The Kings are not a team that I'm scared of at all defensively. I also put in a bet. I'm trying to do this almost every day. I like the Rams to win the Super Bowl title. So I'm just going to find a couple of games and money line them together with the Rams and get the juice. I saw that. Yes, I got a lot of I just got a lot of bets and a lot of units on Super Bowl Sunday, and I can get them at a different
until Joey B just shoves in your face and all those parlays go busto.
He could, but that sounds like the trendy side everyone's gonna be on, which I'm okay with. I'll back the Rams in that defensive line against that bad O line, and if Joey B pulls off the miracle, I'll be happy to see it.
The miracle, he says, the miracle.
I just think that's how they win.
The miracle is already pulled off. I mean, does lightning strike twice in the same place? I guess we'll see.
I just don't. The point I'm going to go back to, and it was last year, is I was worried about that Chiefs offensive line, and
so a little recency bias from you. Is that what you're saying?
Well, what title? Can you name me one Super Bowl team that's won a Super Bowl with a bad offensive line? It's very hard to find.
The Cincinnati Bengals of 2022.
All right, we'll have to see. I mean, I would be happy for Joe Burrow because I like him as a quarterback. Let's get back to the basketball. I got us off track there. I do want to talk about the Sacramento side because Tyrese Halliburton. I'll bring up a DC stat because DC loves to talk about the potential assists, and Halliburton's one of those guys. If you look over the last week or so, Halliburton's 3rd or 4th in potential assists, and just a lot of guys are missing shots when he's throwing them out there. So I think Tyrese Halliburton's a really good play. He's 8'5". It feels like an uncomfortable tag, but you're mainly trying to pay for that ceiling and you're getting a really low ownership. People will not plug in an 8.5K to Halliburton in there. So I think he's a really good tournament player. I also don't think Fox plays. The report on him was he's getting an MRI today and it's a pain tolerance thing. And dude, if it's a pain tolerance thing, sure, he could fight through it, but why would they make him fight through that when they're also kind of maybe thinking about trading him? It just doesn't make a lot of sense for him to play right now. This is a time where he can just sit back and relax and not really play. So I see him just kind of taking a break here over the next couple of weeks. Maybe he plays a game or two here and there with it just being a pain tolerance thing, but I don't think he plays in this spot. So I think Halliburton's a really good play that I'd want to go to. I wouldn't mind a Buddy Hield because of the ceiling he has at 5'3" in tournaments. And then it's unfortunate this guy is center eligible, but Rashawn Holmes at 5K, he definitely could be in play. And then I guess Metu at 3.8 is kind of interesting, but I just worry about him losing a rotation. Some of these Kings, they just don't get the run that you want at times. I know they have an 8-man rotation the other day, but you want to make sure it's like your guy. And like, I need to make sure I have the starter. Like they'll play Damian Jones some, they'll play Mo Harkless. Like they started him the other day. So it just depends what starting lineup they put out there. And that's why it's good to have that flexibility for sure. But the Kings, they definitely ran an 8-man rotation in that first half. And the only reason why they didn't run an 8-man rotation, or why they didn't have a full 8-man, was because they got blown out. So I think these Kings are a lot sneakier than people think because of what they're doing right now.
Yep. I think you made a lot of good points. AP, I'll go to you. Talk about the Kings side. You can always talk me into Tyrese Halliburton. The price is up, so people aren't going to go there. But very good news by Mangone. He doesn't think he's going to play. Some quotes he saw. With the assumption of De'Aaron Fox not playing, what are you going to do with the Kings side? And then you're going to run it back with anybody on the Nets.
Yeah, I actually like that call because, I was just looking and Fox has been questionable, then gets ruled out, questionable, then gets ruled out. And yeah, so I was thinking, I'm like, man, it's probably going to be the same thing. Questionable a day, then gets ruled out after lock since this game starts at 10 Eastern. I actually really like that because this Nets team, just like look at them. They have no defenders right now at all. Like look at what Mikal Bridges did yesterday. Mikal Bridges
went off. I saw that.
Not like a defender, a guy, 3-and-D type of guy. Went off, got whatever he wanted. So, like, I think the Kings here, like, despite how bad they are, they're going to be able to get whatever shot they want. They're not going to have much resistance. So, yeah, I think Tyrese Halliburton, is going to go under-owned. I think if Fox gets ruled out, post-lock, it's going to push ownership up slightly, but not enough because a lot of these plays are already going to be gone. I think, man, you got yourself a potential tournament winner there. And I would even consider looking at Harrison Barnes. He's going to have to play a lot of minutes. He's not playing, the amount of minutes that we're accustomed to seeing under Alvin Gentry. Who knows what Alvin Gentry is doing with this rotation? Like Mangone said, we could see random stuff. Maurice Harkless randomly starts, and who knows what he's doing here. But yeah, a ton of interest in Halliburton, Barnes, and then Buddy Hield. Interesting call. Just got to keep in mind, completely shot dependent, has a very low floor, can be very tilting, but can be a tournament winner. So a guy I'm going to consider. I don't know if I'm going to play him or not, but he's going to be in my player pool. And then Metu is, if he's going to get 25, if he could get 25 to 30 minutes here, I think he could crush in this matchup against a smaller Nets team that doesn't play any defense. So really interesting spot. One I want to look at in tournaments, and I want to run it back with either Kyrie or Harden. I'm not going to play anyone else on the Nets side when Harden and Kyrie are both in there. I just want to play either one of those two. And I think Harden is the guy that has the most upside. It could be a big triple-double in a matchup like this one. So sign me up for one of those two plus a run back or two from the Kings side.
I like it. Biggest total on the slate, close spread. Brooklyn hasn't played defense, so I think everything you said makes a lot of sense. We got 2 games left. We need 25 likes. I'll remind one more time after this game, but 25, not very difficult. I don't want to hold the plays of the day from you guys, so hit the like. Denver Nuggets, Utah Jazz, second game that locks at 10 p.m. Eastern, 221.5 total. Utah is favored by 3.5. Which is kind of surprising that they're favored by 3.5, and they have a lot of people on the injury report. D-Mitch, Gobert, Whiteside, Ingles, Daniel House, all are out. Questionable, Jordan Clarkson, Trent Forrest. So a lot of news on Utah. As far as the Denver side, Jokic, Aaron Gordon, and Boogie, DeMarcus Cousins are all questionable. We saw Jokic play when he was questionable. DeMarcus Cousins miss. And yeah, Aaron Gordon's also questionable. So man, I mean, these 3 late games are all very interesting. You could pretty much, I'm not saying this is what you should do or stuff, but you realistically could just avoid the first 6 games and treat it as a night slate, and you're instantly unique and could build a pretty good lineup because in this game, I mean, this Utah side cannot be ignored. Clarkson, if he plays, very good play. I think Bogdanović makes a lot of sense. Rudy Gay at 4 or 5. Mike Conley, even he's 7K, but if Clarkson goes down or Clarkson doesn't play, I think Conley even makes sense at 7K. Eric Paschall, power forward, center eligible, min price. Man, I'll go to you. I think there's a lot of options on Utah. And then Jokic. I mean, if he plays, you can always play Jokic. if he doesn't play, which we're going to go on their assumption he does play, since you guys both pre-show thought he did play. So let's say Jokic plays. I think he's a good play. Will Barton, maybe. What do you see in this game?
Yeah, I think Jokic plays. I think he's a fine spend up here. But I mean, you can play him if you want. I don't know if I'm
so you can always play Jokic. He's not a lock on the slate, but like 12-6 only center, like you don't need him, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, if I fall on a Jokic, sure, I'll be happy with it, but I'm not going out of my way to put him in my lineup. So I'll definitely call that out. The Aaron Gordon news is important, obviously, because he's questionable. So that would be valuable. And all this Jazz news is important too, because the Jazz, they might be really shorthanded here. So if they are shorthanded, these are guys that we want to be rostering. I would need to know what the starting lineup is. I think Bogdanovich would be a really good play. Conley at 7K is a bit pricey for my liking. He could get there, but I'd prefer Bogdanovich over him. And I would just
if there's no Clarkson though, like even that 7K price, you're still not interested. I would personally.
I mean, I'd like it, but I could just see some of these other guards go in there, and if the game blows out, Conley's first guy off the court, he still is 7K.
It's a 3.5 spread. You can't predict that, but I hear you.
Yeah, well, it's a 3.5 spread now, but I worry about it a little bit for sure. I mean, Jokic is owned. He's owned Gobert, obviously, but Gobert's not really there. Just depends on that starting lineup. The starting lineup is really big for me for Utah because they can just do a lot of different things. And I'm assuming you could see Azubuike start, and then when he starts, maybe he doesn't even get a lot of run throughout the game. And they try to just go a little bit smaller, but they can just get absolutely destroyed. I do have a lot of worries about it. So I need to know the news, and I think that's gonna be important. That's what's the point of getting the Discord chat and be able for us to break all that down and make the adjustments, because I think that's really important. But the one guy I feel the safest about right now and feel like he's the best play right now, I think, is Bogdanovich at this point.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, in the Discord, I mean, yesterday with the Warriors, we thought Kuminga was going to start. He didn't start. We're all in Discord talking about it, ranking our favorite Warriors now. And yeah, Kuminga got there yesterday, of course. But the other swaps, if you could have other swaps, or were swaps you could make that you felt a little better with when Kuminga wasn't starting. So Discord, if you're not in there, like I mentioned earlier, if you want the Run Pier and Saberson package, $150 a month. And then if you just want Run Pier, Discord, Core Plays, Playbook, all that stuff, Run Pier Sports, you can find all of that. AP, I'll go to you. Talk about this game. We're going to go into the assumption Jokic is in. Talk about him as a spend up. And then, this Utah side. Some people in chat are asking, what are they going to do at center and stuff? I wouldn't be surprised if Azubuike starts, if Jokic plays for his big body. I wouldn't play Azubuike, but I'm expecting a small ball Pascal or Eric Pascal at the 5, or Royce O'Neal. They've shown that they can play zone and stuff. So I think the Utah side's in play. What do you see in this game?
Yeah, I mean, the Jazz are going to have some major problems here. And fortunately for us, when Jokic is off the court, the Nuggets are going to have some problems, which makes for the perfect spot for us Jokic guys. And I think he's one of the best players on the slate. Towns just put up 69 points, DK points, I believe, on this Jazz team. He went off. So I think Jokic is going to play. I think they need him to play. This team's a disaster without him. I could see Gordon sitting, but that doesn't matter for me. For me, it's Jokic. Maybe a little interest in Will Barton. He's looked good at times. And then, I like the Bogdanovich call as a run back, and Clarkson off the bench. I think, man, this Nuggets team is just lost defensively, lost offensively out there as well when Jokic is off the court. So they're going to need him out there. I think he's going to have to play. And I think they're going to want to bounce back after the disaster that they showed last night. So I think it's a good spot for Jokic. I want to try to get him in my builds. I think people are going to go to Embiid, like I said earlier, who's a fine play too. But I want to make sure I have some Jokic tonight. Run it back with Bogdan, run it back with Jordan Clarkson, and keep an eye on the starting lineup to see if Pascal or Azubuike starts. Pascal would be the guy that I like because you can play on a forward. The position eligibility is much more flexible than Azubuike. So that's kind of my thoughts on that game tonight.
Yep, definitely a good breakdown for sure. Looking at the likes, you guys already got 250 like I knew. I appreciate it for sure. Plays the day going to come after this game. If you haven't hit it, you want to hit it, we appreciate it for sure. But last game of the night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, Portland Trailblazers, Los Angeles Lakers, 223.5 total. The Lakers are favored by 3.5. For the Lakers, LeBron James is doubtful. So without LeBron, Westbrook, AD, they have to be in conversation. We'll talk about them. Then you go to the other side. Let me find it quick. Struggling. The Portland side, pulling up the injury reports. Obviously, Damian Lillard's still out. Larry Nance, Nasir Little out for the year. Cody Zeller and CJ Ellaby questionable. Watford questionable. So we're not waiting on really any news on the Portland side. But yeah, Dame and some other guys are out. Anthony Simon's price came down 6'5". If I played him and had some interest at 7K, 6'5", I have to have some interest. Norm at 6'3". Westbrook's 9'4" on DraftKings, little better price on FanDuel. Anthony Davis, I think, is interesting. Malik Monk. AP, I'll go to you. I think all three of these late games are interesting, which is why waiting for big news, I think, makes some sense. I think this game's pretty interesting. What are you doing in this one?
Yeah, I mean, the Blazers are coming off a loss against the Thunder, I'm pretty sure. Like, man, and the Lakers only 4-point favorites here. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if they lost without LeBron out there. So, it does help, obviously, having AD. That's going to be a big piece to the equation here. I think he's definitely playable. Where's that, like, that meme or the GIF, like, where, you know, the guy with the mask, like, you know, where it's a smile and then underneath he's crying? That's what I think about when I you know, want to roster Russell Westbrook. It's like, man, he should smash. Like, old school Russ should smash in a spot like this one, but he has been so dusty. I will say in the second half of the Hornets game, I faded him in that game when he was like 60, 70%, owned. And it was hurtful what he did in that second half because my favorite was looking really good. He got so lucky.
We never see him do that. He just couldn't miss.
he could do that in this matchup, though. So, I mean, if you want to, like, you make a really good point. If you somehow miss, like, maybe lock in Chetty, you know, maybe lock in one or two plays, but you're not dead. You actually might be in a good spot, especially if these earlier games bust. Like, it's a really interesting slate to kind of have some strategy behind your builds. There's a lot of merit in waiting for some of this news and waiting for starting lineups, which is something that both of you talk about all the time. So I have a ton of interest in this game. I think it's going to be one that we definitely want to take a look at. Simons, McCollum, both in play. You could even play some Nurk show. I think he's in play. And then AD on the other side, obviously is going to have a big game here for the Lakers to win. And I think it's going to be a back and forth game. I mean, have the Lakers blown anyone out all season? I don't think so. I mean, they need wins right now. They're like barely in the play-in game, which is just like an absolute disaster in the Western Conference. So they need a win tonight. They need Monk, Westbrook, AD to have big games. Carmelo, revenge off the bench. All guys that you could consider. It's going to be tough. Prioritize him. If I had to pick a favorite, it'd probably be Malik Monk. 5'3". I think you can play him at shooting guard, point guard, the guard position, many different spots. He's going to have all the usage out there. He's going to take a ton of shots, and the Blazers just don't play defense. So sign me up for Malik Monk.
Yeah, he'd be my favorite Laker too. I just can't say Westbrook right now since you don't know what you're getting. AD's only center eligible, but we know the ceiling, and he looked really good a couple games ago. Mangone, go to you. Last game on the slates. I think it's pretty good. I think there's some pieces on both sides. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not bad. I will say with the Westbrook thing, I know he ran good at the end there, but there was no AD, so that helps. I do think Westbrook, he's also 9'4" now. On DK, I don't really see myself going there right now unless I'm kind of backloaded, and then I just kind of okay, I kind of have to plan, but I'm not setting up my teams for him. I'll say that. AD, as the unfortunate thing is he's center eligible on DK, so that's kind of annoying at 10-2, but he definitely could be an interesting play. But Malik Monk is probably one of my favorite options at 5'3". I'm let's go back to one more revenge game. I mean, Carmelo Anthony revenge against Portland. Maybe it's not as much revenge because they kind of gave him another shot, but I'm sure he like playing against him. He's a guy that's willing to chuck the ball up, and he has a nice ceiling at 5'2". I don't hate Melo as a tournament option, and you never know when AD is going to go to the locker room too. There's always that built-in equity as well for Melo to get some shots up. So I think that Monk and Melo might be two guys that I think are really interesting in tournaments, and then Westbrook and AD, they're fine tournament options at the top, but I just think there's other spend ups that I prefer on this slate. That's kind of one of the issues I'm running into. And then on the Portland side, They have Simons. I think he's a really good play at 6.5K. I mean, price was just 7K. I think it's a really good spot for him. I like him. I think that CJ McCollum's fine, but I prefer Nurkic. If I had to pick one guy, like last guy in utility spot, I'm going to go Nurkic over a CJ McCollum, but positions could matter. I think Nurkic though is the better play. And then if you need a small forward, Norman Powell wouldn't be a bad option at 6.3K to go to. I think all four of those guys are in play. And I mean, if you do backload a little bit, like AP said, you play a couple different guys and you happen to fall on some Portland options, it's not the worst play in the world. So I think there are good plays here. It's not like you're taking a huge projection drop off or making a bad decision. So I think there are options here that you can't ignore in cash games and tournaments.
Yeah, I even registered this morning for the late slate tonight. I saw 3 games. I obviously didn't know. I didn't look into the slate like we have talked about, but it's a really good late slate, the 3 games. So I'm excited for it. And then Rubio absolutely has been crushing the showdown playbooks for NBA. And it's going to be Lakers Portland. I assume there's pretty good contests up. It's a standalone game. Make sure you check out Rubio's playbook. Some people were asking, they didn't see it. On the website on Run Pier, there's a showdown side, there's a bet side, and a showdown side. Make sure you go to showdown. That's where the Rubio's playbook for tonight's game will be up. Snyder's PGA showdown for each time. I last tournament last week, I did showdown 1 through 4, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Snyder absolutely crushes it. AP's on the cores there. You get Tambo, Hoops, Cash, Player Pool. So the showdown part of the website, maybe not everyone knows about, very important. Want to give a shout out to Rubio, but that's all 9 games. Talked about a couple cross-offs we don't like as much. Talked about plays we like, but it's now time for the plays of the day. Mangone, I'll go to you. The Sweet Travis play of the day. Who do you got for the people?
Yeah, I feel like after what I said that the first earlier on in the game, I feel like I have to go to him. And I like him a lot. I think he's a really good play. Kevin Porter Jr., 6.6K. Saw some people in the chat talking to like the Cavs are so good defensively against point guards. Well, like things change there. This isn't the same team. It's Brandon Goodwin back there and some other guys. Like it's not the same setup. And yeah, they're probably still like good against driving point guards, but we talked about it. KPJ is going to chuck threes. The opportunity is there. He has the chance to get it done. Let's go with KPJ at that 6.6K price tag. And it's a nice run back with some of those Cleveland guys that I'm already going to have some exposure to make my lineups a little different.
Hey, you talked me into it probably like 3 seconds into the talk, because I remember seeing someone in Discord say something too. So like I said, I'm not a huge revenge person, but I think each situation is unique to each other. And this is a revenge I definitely can get behind. So KPJ, Mangone's Sweet Travis play of the day. I'm going to go to myself. I'm going to go with my boy. I'm going to go with Tyrese Halliburton at 8.5. And that's assuming Fox is out. And that's also because I want to play and get way overweight on these last 3 games. Wait for the Jokic news. Even though we think Jokic is going to play, even though we think Fox is going to sit, who knows what happens? There's still questionable tags. So I'm going to be backloaded more than usual. It's a little spend up. Big T always talks about it. People don't want to pay 8.5 for Tyrese. They'd rather 7.8, 7.7, stuff like that. The ownership's going to be down because of it. Highest total on the slate. Brooklyn plays no defense. I think it's a really good Tyrese Halliburton spot if Fox is out. If Fox is in, you don't play Tyrese Halliburton. There's plenty of pivots in the late game. That's the SO play of the day. AP, gentlemen's call of the day. Cap it off for us.
Yeah, so I'm going to stay in these later games. I was between a couple guys. I was actually going to swoop in and steal your boy Halliburton, but I'm glad
I went to you last. I'm glad I went to
I really was. I was going to say exactly what you said too. No, I'm gonna go with Jokic. I think with where he's at, the questionable status, obviously we got to wait for news. But as Mangone often talks about, wait for the news. It's a perfect night to do that. Like if you're not able to wait for the news tonight, take the night off. Like there will be a slate tomorrow. I promise you that. Unless COVID hits again. I mean, I don't think it's going to, but you never know.
Don't put that on us. Don't put that on us right now.
It's going to be Jokic for me. I just look at what these bigs have done to the Jazz without Gobert in there. I think Jokic is like sat the whole fourth last game. He looked good in the third. Like he was having to do everything. I think he's going to be lower owned, and I think he's going to like be the highest scoring player on the slate tonight.
I like it, and I don't think you're not going to see Jokic this low owned. Maybe ever really. So I think that's a really good play for sure. KPJ, Tyrese Halliburton, Nikola Jokic, 3 plays of the day. I'm glad I went to myself first because if I didn't have Tyrese, I don't know where I would have gone. So I'm definitely happy I went the order I did. Fun show as always. RPS Goat in chat. Titletown of Snyder dropping a core for PGA. Nothing currently there. I hope so, RPS Goat, because I checked a little earlier too and I saw nothing from Snyder. So I said I was going to come back, check later. Snyder's always reliable. I'm sure the core will be up. Love Schneider's comment.
What's funny, Title, I got like 6 messages all telling me Daniel Berger was out. So there was a moment I was talking because I kept getting like dings from people. And I was like, we're talking NBA. That doesn't matter. I was fading him anyway. So I was kind of bummed to see that. But Daniel Berger is out with the back issue. And I am bummed because I thought he was going to tee off. We've seen him do it before. Like he won last year. I thought he was going to tee off and then just like withdraw. And I was going to fade him. Because I watched him all, and he looked bad last week. Looked really bad. Every time he swung, it just looked like he had a grimace like on his face. But he's out, so make sure you update your PGA lineups and all of that.
Yeah, Simon in Zoom said AP Daniel Berger's out. I saw some in YouTube saying AP Daniel Berger's out. So I just assumed that was like your play of the day or your long shot or your winner or something yesterday. So I saw people saying that. But good times, golf locks tomorrow. RPS DFS or RPS PGA content absolutely prints. So I'll be in the streets as always, excited for that. Fun 9-game slate today. We'll be in Discord. The Up to Lock show, always important. Should be a very fun night. Let's keep the hot streak going. But that's going to do it for us. Hit the like on your way out. We really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great night. For AP, Mangone, Simon Behind the Sticks, I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.